Well, you know, David, there's certainly a lot of retro motorcycles out there on the market these days, or at least retro-looking motorcycles. And this one fits the bill. When I picked it up at Ducati, they said there was such a demand for the air-cooled motor that they brought the Monster back in an air-cooled format because everybody wanted that old-school Italian motorcycle.
Interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you're right, there is such a trend. My son has a new Triumph, which is really an old Triumph.
Yeah.
You know, to the point where even people look at it and think, well, that's not new.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's such a trend, isn't it? It's really interesting.
Well, the Monster's been around a long time, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So what did you think of that engine? You know, 797 cc's. It's basically an 800 air-cooled Italian twin.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I've never ridden a Ducati before, and I've ridden lots of other bikes, but it certainly has lots of pickup. You know, I went up on a side road where it was peaceful and straight, and the road was in good shape, and just went through the gears, and lots of pickup. I really like the sound too. I almost like sitting and letting it idle as opposed to accelerate, because the sound, that throaty sound, is just really cool.
Yeah. Well, it's a twin, right?
Yep.
So you get that nice lumpiness of a twin. The other thing that's really nice is you get that torque of a twin.
That's for sure.
And I found myself, even though it looks like it redlines up around 10,000 RPM, I found I was shifting a lot around 5,000. The motor was sort of saying, shift now, but that was the sweet spot for the torque.
Seemed to be
4,000 to 5,000 RPM.
I would agree, because it didn't take long. Okay, you're over 100 kilometers per hour, and you were already finished shifting to the sixth gear.
Yeah.
And in the sixth gear, if I'd had to pass a vehicle, it still would have passed, even though I was in the highest gear.
Now, big, beefy Brembo brakes up front. What did you think of the brakes?
You have to get used to them, because a couple of times I was sitting to pull away from a stop sign, I just hit the front brake just to kind of ease myself into the street, and you would know they were there. So just a little bit of practice, but there's lots of stopping power, because I did accelerate and slow down deliberately, and you could bring it to a stop pretty quickly.
Yeah, and good feel. What did you think of the suspension? I mean, we've got really beefy fork up front. I think the rear shock was probably a little on the stiff side, given the potholes here in Prince Edward, but what did you think of the suspension?
Well, it worked well. I mean, I stayed away from the potholes, because that's what I do on the motorcycle, and I don't weigh a whole lot, so it certainly, I certainly had no problem with the suspension, and it didn't really probably work it very hard.
Yeah. What did you think of the riding position?
It was good. It was comfortable. The mark for me is always, I'd like to get my feet on the ground, and I can. 5'6" in height. And when I first walked up to the bike, I thought that, well, there's no way I'm going to be tippy toes, but it's deceiving with the seat dipping down as much as it does, and the tank being so beefy. It makes you think that you're going to be a little bit overpowered physically by the bike, but not at all.
Yeah.
I could touch the ground quite comfortably, and because of the short length of the bike and everything, it added to the maneuverability, even though it looks beefy.
Yeah. This bike is manufactured in Italy. What did you think of the fit and finish?
Well, that's the part that grabbed me, if you like, at first. I like the open, naked bike look, and the neat colors they've chosen for whatever reason. There's a little bit of Italian color there, obviously.
Yeah.
And so I like what they've done to it. It's a really cool looking bike, and because it is air cooled, you certainly don't have a rad, obviously, and it is truly naked. Yeah. Which really gives it a fun look. I rode through our main street in the little town near here, and I was stopped at the stoplight, and I always look around me, and there were 2 or 3 people that kind of looked at it, because it's a bit of an eye catcher. Yeah.
So who are we going to recommend this motorcycle to? Is it an entry-level motorcycle?
I'd say it's a little big and powerful for an entry, but I think it could be a fairly quick progression to this bike once the person feels comfortable with their entry-level bike with fewer cc's, maybe a little physically smaller depending on how physically big they are.
Yeah.
Other than that, I think most anyone would like to ride it. I think it's something where it's a fun bike to ride on a summer day on back roads. You rode it on the freeway, I didn't, but riding on back roads or on secondary roads and in our county where we live or wherever, fun bike, great bike.
Definitely user-friendly as you move up through your motorcycling career, or you're getting back into motorcycling. I would definitely say it's user-friendly. Good for commuting?
Sure.
right?
Oh, absolutely.
Inner city blasting around.
Yeah. Oh, sure.
Maybe a cottage ride with a backpack.
Yep. Oh,
but,
for sure.
But
Yep.
certainly not something we're going to ride from St. John's to
No.
Victoria.
No, probably not. And I can't speak for what a passenger, depending on the passenger. I mean, a style of bike like this, which is like the one I have, passengers sometimes prefer bikes that have more seating room and a backrest and so on.
Yeah.
But you could certainly go on a short run with someone.
I might even throw into the mix a sport bike day, track day.
Yeah.
This would be a fun track bike.
You could, for sure.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much for
No problem.
coming by and trying it out.
No problem.
Great. See you soon, Dave.